Porsche 9000.
Tokyo, February 1990.
Championship boxing.
James Buster Douglas has
remember it
traveled
like it was
across the
yesterday.
globe from Ohio to Japan
3 years
to be
before I was
served as a
born.
meal to a lion. Tonight, he fights Mike Tyson.
That Arnold.
Michigan, most ruthless champion they've ever been.
And all odds say it won't even be a fight.
Douglas insists that he's going to shock the world in this fight.
On that night, Douglas is at the lowest point in his life. A month earlier, he had lost his mother. Back home in Ohio, his partner has been diagnosed with a deadly disease. Every puffy face in a suit is on TV debating on if he can make it to round 2. As he steps into the ring with Tyson, odds are 42-1 that Douglas will be absolutely eviscerated by the undefeated heavyweight champion.
Oh, people was trying to make some money
The
that
world
night.
has come to see
Oh
a
my
slaughter.
God.
As the first bell rings and the crowd quiets, what they witness is a tiger who's been backed into a corner.
Bro, how they open this is
Douglas's
crazy.
heavy fists land shattering blows for 10 straight rounds. A stunned champion is thrown against the ropes. His vision shaken from megatons of flesh and bone crashing against his frame. Fists
The wording
like
is
hammers are
perfect.
thrown at his skull. And finally,
Out of there.
blackout.
What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
When Tyson wakes up, the world sits in stunned silence.
Mike Tyson has been knocked out.
There, in a musty arena in Tokyo, Japan, David stands atop Goliath. Now, 10 years later, Douglas is retired. But back in Japan, another fighter has chips stacked against them.
Uh-oh.
The once great house of Nissan now sits in disrepair. Its bank accounts are overdrawn. Facing billions in debt, bankruptcy tightens its noose around their necks. Italy and Germany have taken over the sports car universe. But like Buster Douglas had done in 1990, Nissan rises up from its broken throne, bares its bloody teeth, and rips their opponents' heads off. At the dawn of the millennia, the automotive world saw its greatest upset. When a bloodied, over-the-hill fighter unleashed a twin-turbo-powered uppercut to the face of everyone who doubted them.
This is lit.
In the 10th round, as the lights began to dim on the empire of Nissan,
Ew. I didn't even know the R35 was going through it like that. I never thought they were, I didn't know they were competitors.
Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Porsche. Their blood spilled in the name of Japan's greatest champion, the GTR.
Definitely never knew it was a battle like that. Uh-oh. Put the tape in, Johnny. Who the fuck is the bitches of flowers?
For one to rise, they must fall. No one had climbed higher than the automotive industry of Japan in the 1990s.
Is that Prince?
The world was now buying the Toyota Corolla. Parents bought Hondas for their kids going off to college. And enthusiasts lusted after Type Rs and GTRs rather than Ferraris. But as Y2K
Yeah, it
drew
did.
near, the shining red sun of Japan's economy began to set. With its fall, the budget for fun began to dry up. It didn't help that the world in the mid-90s kinda didn't care about Japan's great cars anymore. With little to no updates, the NSX had grown tired and old. Toyota's Supra was not yet appreciated for its potential. And Americans had bought their last Z in 1996.
Come on, man. We gotta do better than that.
Customers had voted with their wallets. They no longer wanted sports
What?
cars. The writing was on the wall. The time of
they had to bring out
affordable,
some all new.
enjoyable, driver-focused vehicles had come and gone. Sure, if you were lucky enough to be above middle class, you still had some options. Italy, having sensed that there were still customers looking for breakneck performance, began its supercar revolution in the 90s.
Uh-oh.
F355, Diablo, Zonda.
So put that boy on.
Germany doubled down on being the premier choice of dentists, doctors, and architects. The M3, the SL, and most
I
importantly,
never liked that car.
the indomitable chariot of the golf course, of middle-aged men who have money,
No
a
cap.
desire for speed, and a lack of originality. The Porsche 911. As
Lack
the
of
world's
originality
clocks
is
ticked
crazy.
over into the year 2000, going fast was becoming a luxury only the upper class could afford. While Toyota embraced this new beige era and sold Priuses and RAV4s, the ground underneath Nissan began to crack. As they began to slip away into bankruptcy, they made a last-ditch effort to survive and called the French.
What? Is that a
De
pair?
Clio, dat is een en al prestatie. Samengebalde energie.
Like, how the fuck did they see that back in the day and they were like, oh yeah,
Een en al plezier.
that's gonna get the niggas the bitches. No
Een zeer
way.
rustig type.
Ew.
In the late 1990s, car companies began to consolidate power. Sometimes not merging completely, but forming a kind of co-ownership. In 1999, Nissan and French manufacturer Renault did just that. Each of them bought a large chunk of stock in each other's brand, giving both sides a seat at the other's ownership table.
What?
Inside of Renault at the time was a rising star, known for his cutthroat practices in the name of budget balancing. Carlos Ghosn.
So they
In
did
the
this
90s,
all
he
for
had been
one
brought
man?
over from Michelin to save Renault from bankruptcy.
For
And in a
tires?
year, he had turned the then failing French brand profitable. So naturally, when Renault got a peek at Nissan's dismal financial state, they made Ghosn chief operating officer to save them.
Oh, he did all the branding. then.
Immediately, he set about making
He's
a
like a
plan.
branding
He
officer.
called it the Nissan Revival Plan. Its obvious goal was to make Nissan profitable in just 1 year, at any cost. And he claimed if he couldn't do it, that he would resign. There were, of course, layoffs, restructuring, plants were closed, and what wasn't bolted to the floor was auctioned off.
Damn.
Many careers, lives, and families in Japan were devastated, but it worked. In just 12 months, Nissan went from a loss of $6.5 billion a year to a profit of over $2 billion.
Jesus!
With a new budget surplus, the logical next step was to spend it where it counts. Nissan's boring, archaic car lineup. Nissan was, and still sort of is, the king of making the same car for longer than anyone else. In the year 2000, their
Ultima been
competitors'
out for
cars were
shit.
based on 2-year-old designs.
Oh, I always wanted one of those,
Nissan's
bro.
lineup had been on the shelf
This chick in high school had that little Celica thing. Oh, always wanted one.
COO in 1999,
Always.
Ghosn set out to find a new design lead for Nissan. This person would be in charge of not only a refresh of Nissan's current lineup, but of building the definitive halo sports car of the Nissan brand. The new GTR.
I thought it looked
Ghosn's new
different
vision
when
of
it
the
first came
GTR
out.
was to not make it just a performance variant of some passenger car sold only in Japan,
Damn.
but a halo
Damn.
car that would have impact
Damn.
around the globe.
Damn. Wait till I.
This
hit
was the
that
most
mother-
important car Nissan would make in decades. For the position of design
So the
lead,
GTR just
Ghosn had
saved
3
Nissan's life.
conditions.
That's what they're trying to say, basically.
One, he had to be
Save
Japanese, because he believed that Nissan was still a very Japanese company, and only a true Japanese designer could understand the sensibilities and tastes of the Japanese people. 2, that designer must be a global
They
success.
really be carving that shit out of
Ghosn's
hand like
plan
that?
for
Out of the
Nissan
clay?
spanned nearly every country on the planet. His new designer would need to be able to think outside of the country. And third, he had to come from outside of Nissan. Ghosn himself is quoted as saying Nissan should be rebuilt by Nissan employees, but for the task of revitalizing its image, they needed a fresh eye.
What?
So you want to build fresh, exciting, global designs. Where do you look? Well, obviously, one of the most successful and dominant global car makers of all time. A brand with rich history and elegant, fast cars. You go to Isuzu? Wait, am I reading this right?
And Journo, I'm the world's greatest.
I knew it was
race car
about to be
driver.
something stupid.
Recently, I had a little problem here at Monte Carlo.
The fuck is an Isuzu?
So I switched to this $200,000 Formula Isuzu. It comes with driving gloves and a pit crew, all standard. It's so fast, it will go from Paris to Rome in 2 minutes.
So the car for
bank
cripples?
gave me 5.9% financing just because they like my face.
5.9%.
It's 2001. Ghosn's master plan is finally starting to take shape. New design director Shiro Nakamura, who went by the name Fingers, had been poached from Isuzu, where he had been part of such masterpieces as the Isuzu Via-Cross. I don't care what you say, that is one cool fucking car. For the 2001 Tokyo Motor Show, Fingers orchestrated one of the most interesting lineups ever seen. Nissan's new Z concept garners massive acclaim. The Fair Lady is back and people want it. The Leaf shows that Nissan is ready to pioneer in the new EV playground.
The Leaf came out that
The Nissan
early?
Cube is an asymmetric people mover that shouts out the name of fun and practical. And the Nails concept says that Nissan has kind of lost their mind. And
What is
there
that?
among them sits the boldest statement of them all, the Concept GTR. A brutalistic slab of aluminum, rumored to be perched atop Nissan's new V35 Skyline platform. Its design paid little reverence to the GTRs that came before it, save for the 4-round taillights.
Oh my god.
Sure, this was a GTR, but it sure as hell wasn't a Skyline. This was something new, something sleek, something masculine. A shape with the potential of being an icon. Up till now, the GTR badge had never left the island nation of Japan. But this new glorious supercar would be sold worldwide. A GTR for everyone. The automotive press was stunned.
Well, so
The
yeah, that
outgoing
sounds crazy.
R34 GTR was a performance model of a practical Japanese sedan. This was something else. The outpouring of fanfare from their 2001
So
showing
it's like a
gave Ghosn the
R35 for
confidence he
everybody,
needed to set
basically.
the wheels in motion. Now all he would need was a team to hammer a blade out of this slab of aluminum.
It looks like a discordant mess, like Stravinsky designed it. But every crease and every angle, even on the door mirrors, is there to channel air to that big rear spoiler.
Channel air
The
to
R35
spoiler?
GTR's design was a global effort. Divisions all around the world submitted concepts to Nakamura. He compiled his favorites and handed them over to Hiroshi Hasegawa, who would serve as the GTR's chief designer. Hasegawa then tasked Hirohisa Ono with the exterior design. Its inspiration would be distinctly Japanese. Gundam, samurai, and music notes.
What?
The first draft of its design would take Ono 2 whole years to pen. Its massive blocky design was intentional. Ono decided that this was not to be a pure sports car, letting air dictate the design and shape so much that it looks like everything else. No, his GTR would be something that challenges your eyes, your mind. Something unexpected but immediately recognizable. A distinctly Japanese design. Sharp
I was about to
like
say,
a
it's definitely
sword, but
recognizable as
sweeping and
hell.
graceful like one too. The GTR's final shape was brutal, inelegant, but ultimately incredibly beautiful. After the initial 2003 design, work began in earnest in Nissan's wind tunnels. clay models being shaped over and over, all in the name of perfecting the hard lines of the GTR to behave at speed. The specs laid out by Nakamura for Aero were numbers that had not yet been seen by any other sports car. But through dozens of designs, hundreds of wind tunnel tests, and endless buckets of clay, they did it. At first glance, the GTR may look to be as smooth through the atmosphere as a delivery truck, but it is as gracious as a Porsche 911 and as glued to the road as a Ferrari. Now it just needed to be as fast as one too.
The GTR is a treat for yourself. The power to work and to live.
That hug.
The keyword is kando, to move the customer's heart. We are not selling a car, we are creating kando. That's the world of GTR.
In 1972, a Japanese man joins the ranks of Nissan as an engineer at just 20 years old. His name is Kazutoshi Mizuno. In 2007, he would be known as Mr. GTR. But in 1972, he is not their star employee. He's lazy, shows up to work late, and leaves early. He's, well, 20 years old. His bosses notice his lackadaisical attitude and decide to give him some perspective. Mizuno is sent by his bosses to a local dealership to sell cars to people face to face. There, he is approached by someone facing severe disabilities. They needed a new car to get back and forth to the hospital. This car is my whole life. It is like a person, a member of my family, the buyer tells him. Mizuno then realizes that cars are more than just boring machines. They're important, and they are necessary.
It made him found his heart.
He realizes that the most important thing about any car is that they are nothing without a customer. Mizuno would have a long and storied career at Nissan. He would join the Nismo team in 1987 and help push the R33 GTR onto the track at Le Mans in 1994. His hands would help create the new Z33 Fairlady, the Infiniti FX, and the Skyline V35. And in 2003, Ghosn approached him as the lead engineer on the R35 GTR project, and promptly, Mizuno rejected the job offer.
What?
You see, Ghosn demanded that Kazutoshi make the R35 on Nissan's FM platform, the front midship platform used by all of Nissan's rear-wheel drive cars at the time. Kazutoshi said that it could not be done. To prove his point, he made a prototype with an upgraded platform now known as the PM platform. And he was right. The PM platform was superior in almost every way. Ghosn, with egg on his face, relinquished full control of the GTR's development to Mizuno.
Why, though?
Having worked with GTRs his entire career, Mizuno understood that this was not to be a mere sequel to the R34 GTR, but Nissan's first real supercar. A supercar nearly 40 years in the making.
Okay. I want to know why now. Fuck.
3 little letters. GTR. A humble silver and red badge that has defined the DNA of Nissan from their early beginnings. The machines that sit beneath that emblem have evolved over time, from simple, sporty, and affordable rear-wheel drive cars to beastly machines that hoard golden trophies, and turbo-powered amalgams of video game technology and raw motoring prowess. All along, though, serving the meaning of those 3 little letters. An icon that tells you that what lies beneath it will give you exactly what you most desire. Wanton power, cutting-edge technology, and a beating heart born in door-to-door racing. From the original C10 GTR of 1969,
I thought I was gonna hit right
a touring car born on the curving asphalt of Japanese racing tracks, to the car heard round the motoring world.
Where'd it hit it?
Godzilla.
Uh-oh.
The indiscriminate killing machine that took no prisoners on its way to the top. The GTR badge has always meant Japan's most brutal beast. That legacy has been held up since its inception, even today. never sold as some cheap leather seat upgrade or a visual enhancement package. The GTR name has always been pure. If there was no car in Nissan's lineup to deserve the GTR name, they simply didn't sell a GTR. In 1973, the gas crisis neutered the capabilities of Nissan's fastest cars, and the GTR badge was locked away for over a decade. Returning in full force in 1989, the GTR badge showed the world the power that Nissan could unleash when they put their minds to it. And in 2002, Nissan's GTR had lost its way once more.
Damn,
the R34 generation was fast, sure, but it was no longer the competitive racing machine that the GTR badge was destined for.
Okay.
So once again, the GTR name had no home.
It wasn't hitting.
Its revival then would need to hold true to these three core concepts: power, technology, and a competitive spirit.
Introducing the new 911 Turbo from Porsche. Here's to the dreamers.
Ghosn tasked Kazutoshi Mizuno with taking the GTR spirit and letting it out of its cage. No longer tied to the constraints of some tame sedan underpinnings, this could be the first GTR supercar. For it to be a proper competitive supercar, Mizuno demanded the 3 criteria it would need to meet. 1, it must only weigh 4 kilograms, or about 9 pounds per horsepower.
Bro, I was gonna say total?
It must
what?
be able to go up to 300 kilometers per hour comfortably, confidently, on public roads. And 3, it must lap the Nürburgring Nordschleife in under 8 minutes. Today, we know these figures to be easily achieved and overcome by the GTR. But in the early 2000s, no one believed it could be done by Nissan. No one, of course, except Kazutoshi.
Come on, Kazu.
In 2005, the Nissan GTR Proto was unveiled to the world. Its new exterior matured and shaped by Hirohisa Ono and his team. Nissan announces that the production car will go for sale just 2 years later. What they don't say is what lay beneath that massive hood. That secret is still being shaped by Mr. GTR. From its outset, before he even got the job, Kazutoshi knew the performance benchmark was going to be the 996 Porsche 911 Turbo.
That was what it had
of
to
German
be.
might. An engine derived from the absurd 911 GT1 race car, unleashing 415 horsepower, and a suite of cutting-edge driving systems. All-wheel drive, electronic stabilization,
so if it's even gonna compete,
and
they gotta hit 500.
It could reach 60 in under 4 seconds and get within striking distance of 200 miles per hour with enough highway. But it was comfortable, drivable, and most importantly, desirable.
Yeah, sure will say.
The 911 Turbo was the yardstick of early 2000s supercar performance. Speculation by the press surrounded the mysterious GTR Proto. Many assumed that it would be powered by the VQ35 that motivated the new Skyline, 350Z, and G35. Mizuno, though, had taken one look at the VQ engine, done some math, and tossed it to the curb. It just wasn't gonna cut it. Quickly then, his engineers got to work on a new, bespoke twin-turbo V6, known as the VR38 DETT.
Niggas just invented an engine? What the fuck?
It was a technological marvel of an engine that sat at the heart of the GTR's greatness. The RB26 of previous generations had become vaunted to near biblical hype. But this wouldn't be a sequel to the RB. It was the new form of the VG30 that powered the Z32 10 years before. Featuring a closed block made of aluminum and breathing through 2 turbos, it provided the first generation of the GTR with over 470 maniacal horses. Featuring all sorts of future tech-sounding specifications.
Now that sounds super.
Plasma-sprayed cylinder bores, pressurized lubrication systems, thermostatically controlled cooling systems, techie names that were perfect for a car that was inspired by anime and video games. Throughout its development, Mizuno was fervent in his commitment to the customer. He wanted this to not only be a powerful engine that excites them, but a durable and reliable one that doesn't let them down. So they used forged steel on all internal components. Variable valve timing systems ensured efficient and acceptable mileage figures, meaning you got a nearly 500 horsepower engine that could go 18 miles on a gallon of gasoline. The VR38 was an engineering masterpiece that will likely get its due praise long after it's gone. Each one of them hand-built by Takumi, master craftsmen who would be tasked with building a single VR38 all on their own. Their names emblazoned on a plaque on every motor they produced.
Jesus. God, I wonder how long it took to get a car out.
日産の匠はですね、卓越したその見る感覚っていうんですか、そういうところがあります。特に、要求されるのは機械ではできないところの計測を人間の感覚で組める人間です。
The VR38's rage would be focused through an evolution of the original
Oh, we got
Atezza
a
system.
team. Jesus.
The complicated all-wheel drive traction system that allowed the R32 GTR to claw its way to the top. This new generation was known as the Atezza ETS and is wildly complicated. Power was delivered through a complex asymmetrical all-wheel drive system that in most conditions performs relatively like a rear-wheel drive drivetrain. But when traction was needed, like say for example launching from a stop, up to 50% of its power could be delivered to the front wheels. Tucked above the carbon fiber air diffuser is a plethora of performance sensors. Yaw, pitch, traction, accelerometers, G-force sensors, all working in harmony with a complex computer system to deliver power exactly where it is needed at all times. The computing system of the GTR's drivetrain was not where the video game inspiration ended though. Inside, a central display was quite literally a video game. For decades, Polyphony Digital's Gran Turismo was the first and sometimes only place enthusiasts outside of Japan had ever seen a Nissan GTR. Nissan recognized this and decided to partner with Polyphony for the release of their newest iteration. The team at Polyphony would be in charge of the design of the dash screen in the R35.
Wow.
What they made was a display capable of telling you nearly everything about your GTR with intrinsic detail, guiding you on when best to shift gears, or how to optimize your turns to clip apexes, keeping track of your braking usage, and updating you on your lap times. It gave the owner encyclopedic knowledge of their machine that was detailed, functional, and easy to use. Because of course, Polyphony had been making video game interfaces for decades. For its final touches, Nissan sought help from outside the shores of Japan. The GTR was sent to the UK and given to Lotus to iron out its chassis, dynamic steering, and suspension geometry. Brembo was tasked with helping stop this monster in its tracks, delivering 6-piston calipers that looked more at place on a racetrack than a city street. All of this would then truly cement the GTR as the supercar for nerds. It was designed to look like a fighting robot, powered by space-age technology, and programmed by video game engineers. With all of the pieces in place, Nissan built a camouflage prototype GTR for testing on the Nürburgring. It was a full-fledged GTR with the skin of an Infiniti G35. This was the first time journalists got to hear the roar of what was to come, but even they weren't ready for what Nissan was about to give the world.
Oh my fucking god. Just gonna keep leveling it the fuck up, huh?
What, am I gonna go in there? Yes! Oh, that was a bit late. This thing is absolutely like a bullet.
As early as 2005, the GTR began its final testing process. The fattened G35 test mule spent endless hours on the difficult curves of the Nürburgring.
I had
its
no
goal
idea
was
it took
to
that
bully the
long
Porsche
to make a
911
car.
Turbo and get a sub 8-minute lap time. On paper, the GTR should have done just that, but as testing went on, engineers quickly realized they had made something much more capable. A machine that's performance was more than the sum of its parts.
Shit.
Nothing on the GTR was particularly new. Dual-clutch transmissions could be found on the lowly Volkswagen Golf. The C5 Corvette had a rear transaxle. Paddle shifters could be found in Mercedes-Benzes and Ferraris. Formula One had been dabbling in launch control since the 90s, and Nissan's Atezza system had revolutionized all-wheel drive sports cars over a decade earlier. But this was the first time they'd all be combined into one. By 2006, test mules were being abused around the world. Nissan put them head-to-head against the 997 911 Turbo at Laguna Seca and Nürburgring. In testing, not only did the GTR keep up, it handily beat Porsche's turbo-powered supercar. It not only beat that 8-minute Nürburgring goal, it obliterated it, recording a lap time of just 7 minutes and 38 seconds. It not only beat the 911 Turbo, it flew past the 911 GT3 RS and had 10 seconds to spare. And the GTR did it in the rain. This new GTR had leapt beyond the capabilities of any GTR before it. This truly was Nissan's new supercar. At the 2007 Tokyo Motor Show, in a moment that likely broke the hearts of everyone working on the Lexus LFA, Nissan's stage played a video of the GTR completing a lap of the ring in just 7 minutes and 18 seconds. The fastest time recorded by a production car thus far, and Carlos Ghosn himself lifted the veil and showed the R35 to the world.
With 480 horsepower, the GTR is up for any competitive challenge. Anyone, anywhere, anytime.
Because when I pull it out, boy, I'm trying to tell you.
If you were alive in the year 2007 and you were one rich bastard, your choices in the world of fast cars was drool-worthy. For a little over $300,000, you could have a screaming V12-powered speed sled, the Ferrari 599, that sped up to 200 miles per hour and broke 60 in a hair under 4 seconds. For the budget-minded consumer,
did not look like
you
that
could
was
drive
going well
away
at all.
in a new Audi
Seemed like he was about to go right
Germany's
off the road.
blazingly fast but blandly designed supercar that was as comfortable above 150 miles per hour as most luxury cars are at 20. All yours for around $150,000. For those of us not as well endowed down below, you could purchase the Lamborghini LP6.
That's one of those things that be getting me, bro, because it's like you spend that much money on a car like that, and then the inside of it looks like worse than a Toyota Camry or some shit. Like, what's going on here? Where's my money going?
A massive brute of a machine, 12 cylinders, and the worst gas mileage of any car sold new in 2007. Ludicrously fast, but absurdly expensive at over $270,000. All of these were beautiful and fast cars. And all of them were a complete waste of money the moment the GTR went for sale for just $70,000.
Shit it on him.
About half the price of the 911 Turbo it was meant to compete with. One cannot compare the early GTR with its competitors.
Isn't it like 90,000 though, or something like that?
Something may have been faster.
To get the GTR for like what you want, isn't it like almost $100K?
Nothing was more affordable.
Like you can
get it. Auto journalists,
you can't get it with shit in it.
Off the line. Thanks to the all-wheel drive system, launch control, and its hefty weight, the GTR cracked 60 miles per hour in just 3.3 seconds.
The acceleration is just blistering. It's just savage.
You clear a quarter mile in just 11.5 seconds. Pull a full G on a skid pad, and tango with 200 miles per hour if you were brave enough to try. All for less than the price of a BMW 7 Series. The automotive press couldn't stop raving about the GTR's absurd launch control, the way its unrelenting grip on the earth would carve a corner and demand more abuse. It was like nothing they'd ever seen from Nissan, or really anyone at that point. Sure, you could buy a Corvette Z06 for about the same price, and get some decent performance, but a proper modern supercar it was not. With the GTR, you made no sacrifices. It was comfortable. It had 4 seats, room for golf bags, behaved road manners, and reliable and affordable parts.
Yeah, now it just made me want to get my money up.
The car behaved at 300 kilometers per hour.
I want one.
That you'd be able to have a conversation with your passengers without raising your voice. That it would survive a tire blowout even at 150 miles per hour. And Brembo's braking system meant that you were capable of avoiding the unpredictable.
Yeah, you see them calibers?
It wasn't just a fast car, it was the complete package. And it was finally on sale around the world.
Bigger in my head.
For decades, we had all heard rumors of the beast from the East. Only the Aussies had first-hand knowledge of the destructive power of the GTR. Those, like me, who grew up on Gran Turismo and bootleg JDM DVDs, longed for the day we'd even be able to see Nissan's best on local roads. The wait was untenable, but as it turns out, it was worth it. Endorsements flowed in from all around. Jeremy Clarkson called it the new yardstick.
I think they put 1 million horsepower in this one because the acceleration is just blistering. It's just savage. God, face ripping.
Motortrend said it defied physics before awarding it Car of the Year.
After a week of evaluations that included
I mean, out of all those,
and driving on real-world roads, the judges have voted the Nissan GTR Motortrend's 2009 Car of the Year.
Chris Harris said it could only be compared to a Bugatti. Wow. The R35 landed on shores around the world and gave power and performance to those that could never afford it before. A supercar for the unsuper buyer. Italian performance for the middle class. It was the underdog boxer that Nissan needed at the right moment to save them from annihilation.
That was so hard. Uh-oh. Talk about a super...
Ghosn had achieved exactly what he set out to do. Create a usable supercar that normal people can aspire to own. And raise the bar for what a car can be. A machine that was more than fast. It was a signal to the world that Nissan still had gas in the tank. That its best years were not behind it. Of course, their goal also was to sell cars. While the first GTR went to Ghosn himself, 3,000 GTRs were sold out immediately in Japan. 2,500 went stateside, and again, were pretty much sold out before they got off the boat. The brand as
only
a whole
2,500.
was
Like, I would have thought like upwards of like 10 to 15 would have been easy.
Nissan was profitable, and Ghosn was nicknamed the Super CEO. Over the coming years, the spirit of the GTR and Ghosn's leadership helped pull Nissan out of
That's because they had to hand make all them engines and shit, dude.
Ghosn would eventually have his own dramatic story with an insane ending. But the GTR he created would have one of the longest lives in supercar history, spanning 16 years and featuring numerous updates and what seems like endless special editions. It got faster, it got meaner, it became more important. It got more expensive, yes, but remained a bargain of performance compared to its competitors. This new GTR proved to be an indomitable halo car for not only Nissan, but Japan as a whole. Then, in 2022, Nissan closed the door to new orders for the R35 in Japan, a sign that the fantastic run of magnificent machines was coming to an end. 16 years of being a performance benchmark, the affordable ruler that all cars must be
Did they say if they were
against.
going to bring it back?
A beast so powerful
like an electric
it practically
form or some
ruined
shit?
Toyota's billion-dollar experiment by beating it to market. And it did it for a fifth the price. Today, even as Takumi and Japan are still assembling VR38s with their meticulous hands, the writing is on the wall. The end of the GTR badge draws near once again. As it was in 1973 and 1999, the next generation of GTR is not guaranteed. Will there be another machine capable of adorning itself with those three small letters? The performance landscape has shifted since those humble beginnings in 2007. Today's world of electrified hypercars and top-dollar supercars begs us to ask once more. Does Nissan have another fight left in it? Will they rise up once more and swing
There's so
their
many
might
competitors
from the
out there now. I
shadows?
feel like now it's like the most open market ever. Like,
This current GTR
people are just
generation has
open to
grown
getting
long in the
everything.
tooth. Its contenders have gotten leaner and smarter. But those with good memories of that day in 1990 will tell you, never bet against the underdog, because you might just get knocked the fuck out.
That shit doesn't even. Oh god, just gets your dick hard. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's like I really know how to do it, dude. Really gets me pumping. Gets my meat jumping. Oh.